Today we're going to be talking about some practical ways that you can help a friend or loved one who's suffering from depression. Hi everyone. Depression is an extremely common mental health condition, and there's a very good chance that you have known someone who's experienced depression at some point in their life. And so what we're going to be talking about in today's video is some practical ways for helping support and care for a loved one who's experiencing depression. But before I get into that, just a couple of disclaimers to go over. I'm a registered psychologist in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute or replacement for advice from your doctor or mental health professional. Now, with those things out of the way, let's start talking about supporting a loved one with depression. Now, if someone you love is experiencing depression, you yourself might experience emotions, things like helplessness, frustration, anger, fear, guilt, and sadness. All you want to do is help, but the question becomes, what can you do to help? What are some of the things that you can practically do to best assist or care for a loved one with depression? Now, in today's video, I'm going to be focusing on some of the things to do. I might make another video at some point about some of the things not to do, or some of the things not to say to someone who's experiencing depression. Some of those things that we might be doing that we think are helpful but are actually not serving that purpose. So that may be something in the future. Today is going to be more kind of a more positive things to do type of video. So the first thing that I often encourage people to do in terms of supporting a loved one or caring for a friend or loved one with depression is to educate yourself about the signs and symptoms of depression. Now, we often think of depression as this sort of internal state that the other person is experiencing, but we know that there are outward signs of depression. And if you're aware of what these signs are, you can get a lot better at recognizing them and assisting your friend or loved one earlier on. So obviously, if you notice that the person is feeling sad or tearful a lot of the time, so that's a pretty good sign. But also things like person experiencing irritability, or if they're more short-tempered or moody, those can be signs that the person's experiencing depression. You may notice that the person doesn't really seem to care about things anymore. They're not really engaged in activities that they used to enjoy doing. Maybe they're socially withdrawn. Maybe it's been a while since you've heard from them, or you notice that they're not really reaching out or going out together with the same group that you always used to hang out with. And so noticing that the person is pulling away from other people. You might notice that the person is either sleeping less or sleeping more than usual. They may feel tired all the time, or feel like you may notice that they just don't have a whole lot of energy. You might notice some changes in their eating habits. Maybe they're eating a lot less than usual. Maybe they're not eating at all. Maybe they're eating more than usual, but it's kind of that unhealthy kind of comfort food sorts of food, that kind of easy, high carb, high sugar types of food. Maybe they never used to eat like that before, but you're noticing them eating or craving those types of food more. Maybe you notice that they're drinking more or using drugs more often. These are all signs or indications that maybe the person might be experiencing some symptoms of depression. So just educating yourself and being more aware of some of these signs can help you identify or recognize earlier on when your friend or loved one might be having some of these difficulties with depression. And if you notice that your friend or loved one might be experiencing some of these symptoms, encourage them to seek treatment. And the way you do this, one of the best ways you can do this is just to share what you've noticed in terms of the change in their behavior, what you've noticed in terms of some of those signs or symptoms that you've recognized. And talk to the person about why you're concerned about this. Share with them what you've seen and why it makes you concerned for them and their well-being. Encourage them to talk to their family physician. And if they're pursuing treatment, if you know that they're seeing a counselor or psychologist, encourage them to keep up with their appointments. Encourage them to take their prescribed medications. So just be there as someone who's encouraging them as much as possible in the efforts that they're doing in order to feel better. Third thing you can do, and this one may seem obvious, but it's actually really difficult to do, is to just be open and listen. Let them know, let your friend or loved one know that you want to know how they feel. Listen carefully, but resist that urge to give advice or opinions or make judgments. Right? Your friend or loved one may know that they need to be getting more exercise, or may know that they might feel better if they got together with their friends more often. They probably know a lot of those things, and they're probably beating themselves up because they're not doing those things. If you're trying to be helpful by giving them advice on some of these things that they know they should be doing that they're not doing, it can just make them feel worse. So the goal isn't to give advice or ideas. The goal is to just be there and listen. You can't try harder to overcome their depression than they are. You're not going to be able to will or convince them to feel better. Now, obviously, if they ask for your advice, give your advice. But if they're not asking for your advice or your opinions, just listen to them. Just be there to listen and to hear what they're saying and to hear what they're feeling. Because that's probably all they really want from you, and that's probably the most benefit that you can give them, is to just know that there's a sympathetic, non-judgmental person in their life, which may be very different from them, and they may not themselves feel sympathetic or non-judgmental towards themselves. Another thing you can do is to give positive reinforcement to the things that they're doing. Acknowledge and recognize their positive qualities. Acknowledge and recognize how much they mean to you, how much they mean to other people. If you're noticing improvements in what they're doing, if you're noticing their efforts to overcome their depression, point those out. Encourage them to continue with those ideas and let them know that you're seeing the change. Because if other people are noticing that they're making these improvements, it can be really reinforcing for them to continue to make the improvements. So things like even just thanking them. Hey, thank you for doing the dishes. Any of those little things that you may notice that they weren't doing before, but maybe they are. Try to point them out and encourage them to continue with those activities. Now, the key thing is there's kind of a fine line here. What you don't want to be is this kind of rah-rah cheerleader that is totally over the top and totally unrealistic with your praise. So you don't want to be, someone who's like, oh my goodness, you washed one dish. That's so wonderful. That must have been such a challenge for you, but I'm so proud of you. You should be so proud of yourself. No. The idea isn't to be a cheerleader, but the idea is to recognize the practical steps that they're taking and to provide appropriate encouragement and reinforcement for those ideas. And what you don't want to do is to come across as kind of patronizing or over the top, because they may feel that that's disingenuous. A practical thing you can do is to offer to help them in very sort of practical day-to-day ways. So your friend or loved one with depression may be struggling with doing certain tasks. So you can offer to help them with things like giving them a ride to or from appointments, maybe doing some grocery shopping for them, offering to drop off their dry cleaning, or making a meal for them once a week. These are really sort of practical things that they may need to get done, but maybe they don't have the energy or the motivation to do. And so you can assist in these really sort of practical ways for these things that need to get done that maybe they don't have the energy to do. So they can then use that energy that you're saving for them by doing their shopping for them, that they can use that energy for other things to make them feel better, like maybe going for a walk or those types of things. So looking for real practical day-to-day ways to assist your friend or loved one. Another thing you can do is to try to make plans together. Ask them to join you for a walk or watch a movie with you. Ask them if they want to go grocery shopping together, or do something that maybe you know that they previously enjoyed doing, like going for a hike or a bike ride or playing video games. The idea here is you don't want to force or push the person into doing something, but you just want to encourage and give them opportunities to do these things. So you give them the option, and if they choose to take it, great. But if they don't feel like doing it, that's okay as well. Just continue to give your friend or loved one the opportunity to do some of these activities together. What you want to ensure that you're doing as well is that you're checking in regularly with the other person. So regular phone calls, regular text messages. Now the thing is, it's okay if they don't respond. Expect that you're probably not going to hear back from them all the time. And don't take it personally. Don't get offended that they're not returning your phone calls, that they're not returning your text messages. By having this regular contact with the other person, what you're doing is you're giving them opportunities to connect with you. And if they take those opportunities, wonderful. If they don't, that's okay. You just keep giving the opportunity. And eventually, maybe they will take those opportunities, and that can be a real benefit to them and something that they may not have been able to do themselves. And finally, the last thing that you can do to take care of someone that you care about who's experiencing depression is kind of a bit counterintuitive, or maybe you haven't thought about it, but it's really important to take care of yourself and to make self-care a priority for you. Now, supporting someone with depression can be extremely challenging. It can be extremely draining emotionally and mentally. And so what you want to do is you need to ensure that you're taking care of yourself so that you can prevent yourself from becoming frustrated or burnt out. Because if you're getting frustrated or burnt out with trying to support your friend or loved one with depression, that's going to start to come across. It's going to come across in terms of your tone. It's going to come across in terms potentially of your behavior. And then it's going to be a message to them that they're failing again at another relationship. And so what you want to do is to ensure or try to prevent yourself from becoming burnt out by ensuring that you take care of yourself, finding time for your hobbies, for ensuring that you're getting enough physical exercise, ensuring that you're seeing your friends and getting together with your friends as well. And so by doing that, you can ensure that you're in the best mind shape and, or not mind shape, but you're in the best condition mentally to care for your friend or your loved one. So I hope those tips make sense. I hope maybe those are, I know a lot of them are kind of obvious, but maybe there's some of those ideas that you'd never really thought about before. So hopefully that can help give you some ideas for ways that you can help support a friend or loved one who's experiencing depression. I'd love to hear your ideas and thoughts about this, or maybe some ways that you've found that have been helpful to support a friend or loved one. So please leave me some comments in the comments section down below. If you're enjoying my videos and would like to see more, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll be alerted every week when I post a new video. So that's it for today's video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.